Hi everyone, let's talk about the game Face to Face. So this is the third big iteration, I think, of the game. So I mentioned a bit at the playthrough. The original game is a cooperative game where we have a big deck of cards, number 2 to 98, and we each have a portion of that deck, and we are trying to do the same thing as in the playthrough. You know, there are two piles of ascending and two piles of descending. The same thing works of going backwards 10 and all that, but we are cooperatively trying to do it, but we can't talk about what numbers we have in our hands. We can only kind of say, you know, we can ask people, you know, do you want me to stay off these? Or you can tell people, please don't play to that pile. But inevitably, it is going to go wrong because you don't know what people need to play. You don't know what position other people are in as well. So inevitably, your plans are going to be ruined again and again. It's a really, really good game. It's got a little expansion, the Game on Fire, that added some special cards that need to be covered up before, you can't leave them an extra turn without being covered up. If you play one, the next player has to play on top of that one. And then there was the Game Extreme, which added a lot of different powers to the cards. That's the only one that we've played and we didn't get just because we're like, well, the game and the Game on Fire was hard enough for us. We didn't need an extra layer of difficulty at the moment. But yeah, then this came out at Essen. And yeah, initially I thought, well, fantastic. It's the game for two players. And as somebody who plays almost always two players, that is a fantastic thing to come out. And then I saw that it was competitive and that you would play on other people's piles. And straight away my thought was, well, this isn't going to be for us at all. This is going to be, it's going to be you're just going to try and ruin each other's games. And so it's not going to be one for us. And then as soon as we actually got our hands on a copy and then read through the rules. At first, yeah, it was just kind of, oh, this is confirming our fears. You can play on each other's piles and all of this. But then the fantastic thing, which kind of makes sense really, if you could just play on other people's piles and there was no restriction, if you got a really high card, I would play it to your ascending pile and just ruin your game, and there wouldn't really much be a game to it the way I was thinking of it. So it was probably never going to be like that. But the rule where you have to help the other player, it's brilliant. This is, yeah, I'll say that right away. I should have said it from the start. This is really, really brilliant. It's definitely things that criticisms people could level against any of the iterations of. The artwork is definitely weird. I don't know why it's got these grim skulls on all of the cards. Calling your game the game is a really, really difficult thing to search for or, explain to people and make it sound good by, well, what's that game called? It's called The Game. No way, it is good, I promise you. And yeah, it is purely abstract. It is just, a deck of, well, in this case, two decks of two cards 2 to 59. But yeah, incredibly abstract game, but still, despite that, usually, yeah, I don't play that many abstract games, but I did really like the kind of the tension that came from the cooperative game of, desperately wanting to having a plan. I've got this great big string of cards to play, and it's all going to come off as long as you don't play on that pile, and inevitably someone is going to have to say, well, sorry, I need to play 2 cards. Anyway, the game Face to Face, it's really, really brilliant because it forces that cooperation. There are times when you have a nice run to play and you are even more incentivized to, if you're playing this solo, for example, there is an app for the normal game as well that you can play too. If you're playing it solo, for example, or even in the normal multiplayer game, you may want to get your big runs out in the multiplayer game because somebody could ruin it before you come in. And it's true in here as well, because even though you're playing to separate piles, the other person, not really knowing, they can't know what your plan is and what your big run is, but they, in their helping you, always in air quotes, because you don't want to help the other person, but you're forced to. In helping you, they can interrupt that big run, so you are kind of more incentivized to play the whatever big run of cards you've got. You have to play it in one big go to get it off. But then, if you played to all of your own piles, you only get to draw 2 back. And then as your hand size gets more and more limited, you're going to be really restricted and have to make big jumps on your piles. So inevitably, you're going to want to get rid of a card that is just useless for you and hopefully doesn't help the other player that much. That's what it's all about, of trying to balance, well, this only helps that person too, so I'll play it to their pile. But that could be helping them as well. That could be just the number they needed to get a card out, or maybe that's now 10 higher or lower than a card they have in their hand, and they can play a run they were waiting for as well. There is that kind of element to it. Another downside as well is there is luck of the draw involved. It's not a game entirely ruled by it, but I'd say all versions do have that in it. Sometimes you will just be doomed to fail if, especially if you didn't shuffle the deck properly. It's one of those games where you are putting cards kind of in an order, so it does need a lot of shuffling. But yeah, you can be, in the multiplayer game, it was true as well, you can sometimes just be doomed by having to, ruin all of the piles straight away because of the cards that you started with, and then straight away cards come out that now you can't play because you've restricted yourselves too much. So you either restrict yourselves more and more, and it just spirals out of control. It doesn't happen that often, but it's definitely a part of it and something that may put people off. But for me, as I said, I really love the multiplayer version of the game, but I like this just as much, maybe even a little bit more. I don't know. Definitely as much as the game. It's definitely its own thing, and being gently forced to help your opponent in a two-player competitive game, it's a really, really nice system, and it's definitely a keeper for us. But watch the playthrough and see if it would be one for you. That's the game Face to Face. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye.